All right, so the next material we want to tackle is this guy, the vinyl siding. Okay, so basically this is a white material, but you can see it's almost like a planking that goes side to side. So what we were saying earlier on with all the different material assets that we have in Lumion, we can customize them to be other things. So what I mean by that is if I select my horizontal wall and then go to library and I search for siding, I have all these different options here, right? So let's find the one that looks the best. I like this one right here, the bottom left one, wood siding 6. And so I know you're probably thinking, well, this looks nothing like the vinyl siding, right? I was showing an example of this, right? White and clean, and we've got this. So I'm going to show you how to make it look like that. So first things first is I always start from the top and I make my way down, right? So let's swap out the color, and nothing's changed, right? Because of the texture influence versus color. So I'm going to lower this and start getting some white, okay? I really don't need any of this texture to come through. The nice thing about this texture is like it does have some nice, variation because of like the dirt and everything. So I want to have a little bit of it there. And what's nice is it's like slightly off colors from the corner boards. So it's going to give it a little bit more detail. So it's not just like pure white. There's some variation. So the next thing we'll do is I want to start lowering the relief. So if you remember, the relief is what's driving all this. Watch this. Right now we've got nothing, but we want some of that. And generally when you get higher quality, like vinyl siding boards or hardy planks, you'll actually have some nice detail on it. It won't be like completely flat. The really cheap stuff is like perfectly flat, but the nicer material will actually have some of this detail here, which is what we want to replicate, because this doesn't look as good as something like this, right? So roughness, let's play with this to see what we got. We don't want it to be too shiny. So leave it somewhere around there. That's totally fine. We don't want it to be too reflective. Okay, I'm fine with this. What we'll notice here is we actually have a displacement slot, right? So what this is going to drive is, watch this. You see the distance between the planks, right? So if I go this way, it looks like it's further out. If I go here, it's lesser. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. That way it looks like we have some variation. Just checking out what that is. Okay. And what's nice about these boards is they're not like perfectly straight lines, which is great because in the real world, everything's got like a little warp to it. It's not 100% perfect. So that's why this is really great. And this is one of those materials that I use 100 times. So I can easily save this. That way I can use it to future projects. So if you forgot how to do that, you can go to menu and then either save it to your hard drive or save to your custom materials. Okay. So overall, pretty happy with this. I'm going to hit check mark and let's see what's next. Let's bring this up. Okay. So looking at this, maybe we desaturate this siding a little bit. And if you remember, super easy to click into an asset and tweak its settings without losing anything. So I'll desaturate that just a bit. So I'm going from 75 to 50. All right, totally cool. All right, next one. Okay. We've got this done, this. We've got the trim. We can do some of the concrete around here, the pavers here, and we can also tackle glass as well. So let's get started on that. So right over here, this is the foundation for the basement that's being shown. This is usually a poured concrete surface. So I'm going to go here and I can either search, manually search and click, or I can just search by words. So I'm going to look for concrete and I want something that's not too crazy. Yeah, this is totally fine. Okay, I'm going to double click and I don't need to tweak anything here. The texture maps here are already driving the correct amount. I don't need to go in there and tweak anything. All I want to change is add soften edges, right? Exactly. And we're going to add some weathering, just a little. Yeah, you see how it's adding some grunge right under there? That's what we're looking for. Okay, that's perfect. I'm going to hit check mark to save the changes. And let's add some soil here. And let's just search for soil. I could go under the outdoor category, but I'd rather just get, the thing I'm looking for immediately. So if we look at the sample image, okay, looks perfect. It's got dirt and leaves. This is ready to go. Okay, I could change the scale if I want, holding shift and making it slightly bigger. That way I don't see the tiling as much. If you think the dirt is like too dark, you can always just lower it. That will help brighten it up a bit. Okay, we'll add a little bit of weathering. Yeah, to break all that up. Perfect. You could do, soften edges, but like we're never really going to see an intersection, that 90-degree intersection that we would see everywhere else. So this is totally fine. All right, let's talk about the pavers here. Okay, I'm going to hit check. And I always get paranoid about like losing my work. So that's why I'm always hitting save. You could, click here, do your work, and then move on. But I prefer to just hit this check mark and then move on. So we'll go over here and let's look for pavers. We want to find something under the, either stone or outdoor materials. Yeah, like a nice cobblestone. Maybe not cobblestone. Yeah, let's try pavement stones. Okay, that's not a bad option. Yeah, we're looking for something like blue stone kind of thing. I don't hate that. All right, cool. So it's going to be this one. Yeah, that's great. And this is actually mapped really nicely that we've got it right at the edge. But what are we going to do? We're going to go in, we'll soften the edges, right? So the light's being picked up there, which is great. And we're going to add some weathering, just a little bit of weathering. I'll leave this on stone because it is stone. And since they have maps here, these are perfectly dialed in. I don't need to customize them too much. But if I want, I could easily change the roughness, change the relief, sorry, if I felt it wasn't, giving me enough depth. But Lumion does a really nice job of having those assets like ready to go. Okay, and then this is generally a poured concrete wall. So it can be the same material here. If it's in the budget, sometimes they'll add, another stone here. Let's see what they did. Tough to say. It looks like it could just be painted white. So what we could do is, let's grab this material. We'll grab the basement material. I'm going to copy it. And I'm just going to paste it right here. And now I'm just going to lower this and make it white. There you go. So now it looks like a concrete material that's been painted, right? And that's the relief here. See? So you can lower that a bit if you want. That looks great. We've got that. This right here, this is the sill to the door. I'm just going to copy this material and paste it here. Okay. The handle, I could, paste it as well. That way it's all the same. Yeah, that looks great. All right, awesome. So this right here, this is a header or a beam. This is what's supporting up the roof, right? So this, sometimes they go with like a wood. Sometimes they go with a painted white trim material. I think they painted it white. Yep. So let's do that. We're going to do some copying, but you can see like how much mileage I'm getting out of just like the same 5 materials. I'm able to just like copy it, tweak it, or just reuse it 100%. So it's all about working smart, not hard. And you'll notice that through the glass, everything's super pink. That's because this is the interior wall paint material I chose. We can just drop a paint in here. We'll be using another model for the interior portion of this course. So it doesn't need to be super perfect. So I'm just going to search for paint. And let's look for, let's go with this, but no, let's not go with that. I take that back. Let's look for a plaster. Yeah, that works. Let's go with this guy. Okay, and we're just gonna lower the scale because that looks crazy. We're gonna lower the relief. We don't need this. Okay, and lower the texture. Exactly. Okay, perfect. And the reason I did that is like we just need a simple white material. We don't need, that bright purple. Okay, so this is good. We've got these pavers to worry about, and we also have some gravel that we can put here as well. What else do we have? We've got 3D grass we need to add. We need to fix our pool material. We've got some concrete pads here. So let's actually just grab this. You can grab either the basement material or this. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to copy and paste it here. Okay, that way that's all consistent. And now, like I was saying earlier, I'm looking for the vibrant colors. I don't want any of that sticking out. So let's tackle these bricks here. So the bricks, they were these gray bricks right here. Hard to see, but we could either copy this or just do this brick. I'm going to use this and I'm just going to desaturate it. So I'm going to click this, settings, and then desaturate it so it's nice and gray. It's a little dark, so I'm just going to lighten this. Somewhere around there. Basically want to be around there. And I'm going to do the typical soften edges. As you can see, it's already doing a lot of heavy lifting. And we'll add weathering. Perfect. And if you think, the depth is too much, you can always tweak your displacement. So you see what's happening there? So I'll leave it somewhere around there. That's totally cool. These are all dialed in. I'm pretty happy about these. That's going to go too far. We'll leave that somewhere around there. If I go any lower, it's going to get too shiny. Totally fine with that there. The map here is driving, what should be darker or lighter. Okay, so whenever you see a texture map here, you don't need to worry about customizing it too much because Lumion's already figured that out. If there's nothing here, that's when you really need to play with the sliders. But generally speaking, they've pretty much mastered that, so you don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, and metalness set to 0 because it's not a metal. If we were to crank it up, you see how it's got that metallic sheen. So again, here we go. I'm happy with this. Let me see what's going on here. So we've got, a couple different patches. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, copy, and I'm going to paste here. And so here, I have this as a different option because, let's say the client's like, oh, I actually don't want brick here. Like there's too much brick. I want you to use this. It makes it easier, right? That's why I'm breaking it up. So I'm actually going to use this deck paver because I think that's going to look nicer than the brick. So watch this. I'm going to paste that. And now I can grab the brick here. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it here. But you see how the rotation's off? I want it to go the other way. So now I'm going to rotate my heading to -9. So you see the flexibility that I had there, right? I was able to make this one angle, this another, and then this a different material. I can change this altogether to be a different material. But again, since I have it broken out, it can be whatever. So that's the important thing I want to stress. When you're building these models, make sure you just think about what's going to be one material or multiple or might have changes in the future. It really makes a big difference. Okay, so we've got this here. I could definitely leave it to match that, or I can change it. Let's see what they did here. This looks like a lighter material. It could be very similar to the concrete, like a curbing. So what we could do is we could grab this and we can paste it, and I can make this slightly lighter. Yeah, something like that. Perfect. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. Perfect. But again, this is, a different material, so you can definitely go there and customize as needed. All right, so this is another gravel. I can copy this and paste it here. The reason that I had it as separate is originally it wasn't defined if this was going to be an asphalt driveway or a gravel driveway. So here they've decided that it's going to be gravel. So I'm just going to copy and paste this as well. Okay, perfect. If I want, I could tweak the color. Let's say we go with like a lighter gravel. That way it just looks a little different. Perfect. And let's just add some weathering. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, and that's stone. Let's do the same thing here. Perfect. All right, awesome. We've got all that. All right, what's remaining? We've got this on the main house. So this is another situation where this dormer here, that's the name of this architectural element. The area here, it wasn't defined like, oh, what material it should be. It was something that was constantly changing. So I left this as a separate one. Based on this image here, it looks like they went with something called board and batten, right? So basically what it is, it's vertical strips of material instead of this horizontal plank, right? So to do that, I'm going to click here. And this one's a tricky one to make, but what I find works best is if I go over here. So if I go here and I search for metal, and I look for this guy. This is what I usually do. So there you go. So I'm going to tweak it a little bit. That way it's not so metallic, right? Metalness is at 84. We don't want that. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to play with the roughness so it's not so shiny. Okay. And the relief is going to drive how much that sticks out. Don't want too much. That's totally fine. And I'm just going to lower it a bit, the texture, just so it's a little whiter. Okay, it's still a little too gray, so I'm going to lower this some more. And as you can see, I'm losing my lines, right? So I can boost my relief, and I can boost my weathering here. We don't want it to look too worn, so let's leave it somewhere around there. Perfect. So as you can see, like that was a metal panel system that we're able to actually use as a wall clad system. So this is how you can get a little creative with your Lumion materials to make it anything. So we've got that. Front of the house is looking good. Okay, we've got this over here, this garage glass. They're probably going to go with the black paint. So I'm going to copy that. We'll paste this as well. Okay. And the doors, let's just grab our white trim paint. So I'm going to grab this white paint, copy, and we're going to paste this. Okay, great. And since they're different, channels, you can easily make them whatever color you want. Like if you don't want white and you want a different color, you have the option. Okay. We've got some railing here. The railing, let's go with, we've got a couple options. We can go with the black here. We can customize that. And again, you don't need to match this 100%. You can make it your own design. This is your project. And I'm just going to grab, you know what? Let's grab this for the terracing here. Again, nobody's going to see that, so it could be anything. Typically, this is like a wood deck, but again, nobody's going to see it up there. We're really taking our angles from like out here, right? This is usually a horizontal siding material, so I can grab that, copy this, and I can paste it. If I want the chimney to stick out as its own color, I could totally do that. Like if I want this to be a little grayer, I could do something like that if I wanted. Okay, these are usually just black components, so I'm just going to copy this. And as you can see, I'm reusing a lot of materials. Typically on these like modern farmhouses, it's all like black and white, so you can easily get away with the same textures and materials. So we've got the grass, we've got our edging here, and the pool that we need to fix. The edging is usually like a rubber membrane, so I can actually grab my black paint and I can dull it to make it look a little more like rubber. Okay, so I'm going to increase the roughness. Okay, and I'm going to play with the soften. Yeah, exactly. Great. That's perfect. That's easy enough. Okay, and let's go over here. Okay, so you'll notice that we got some weird stuff going on here. We actually have the landscape cutting into our pool, right? And obviously we don't want that. So let's check this out. I'm going to hit save my changes. And I'm going to switch briefly to my content library. Right over here, there's the utilities tab. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to hit place. And we're looking for something that's called landscape cutter. I'm going to click this. You see what's happening? You see how my water is being revealed? That's because I'm literally cutting through the base plane that that Lumion provides you with. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit escape. And I'm just going to edit this. So I'm going to scale it up just so it's big enough. Yep, exactly. That way it's out of my way. So now I can edit my pool materials in peace. So the first things off is the water. Looks really weird. It's like super odd ripples. So I'm going to go to the library. I'll just clear out my search, and we're going to find our water materials right here. Want something, nice pool. That sounds good. Let's see. Okay, cool. That's not bad. What I'm going to do is double click this and then tweak it a little bit. I think the waves are a little bit too high. And I think the scale of the waves can come way down. Yeah, exactly. See how it's adding some nice caustics? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like before the wave scales was like this, didn't look too realistic. Somewhere around there. Perfect. And then you can choose like how reflective everything is. Like that's too much. Somewhere right around there is fine. Okay. And you can also choose like this ability to like fake depth. Leave it somewhere around there. Okay. And then this is pulling from this color. So if I made this a little bit darker, see what's happening here? Leave it somewhere around there. Okay. The other thing that's not helping us is the tile here, or lack of tile. So if I click this, let's put a nice little pool tile on. So I'm going to search for tiles, and we're looking for a blue mosaic. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Much more realistic. So now you'll see because of the tile, it's actually taking a lot of the blue on. So now we kind of have to like counteract that. So let me double click water, and let me play with this a bit and brighten this up. Exactly. Somewhere around there. Awesome. And now the edge here, the pool edge, this is typically like a square tile or just like a concrete pour. Up to you what you want to use, but I'm just going to grab like a stone here, and let's find let's find like a concrete. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's not so bad. The only issue is, yeah, how it's landing here, but we can fix that. You know what? Let's go with this one. Kind of like that one a little bit more. Okay, so now let's move our X and Y. Okay, I'm holding down Shift. And let's change our Z. Perfect. Cool. It's great. Awesome. And I'm just going to make it a little brighter. There we go. Awesome. Okay, what else is left? We've got the 3D grass. And you'll notice here that we are missing our staircase here. So that's that landscape cutter not reaching that area. So let me just go back to our content library, and I'm going to just drag that out. There we go. So if we look here, this is our foundation wall. These are typically concrete steps. So we can actually copy this and paste it because this is a concrete pour. And this is all lawn. Okay. And this is all railing. I'm just going to copy my railing from up here and paste this as well. Paste that there too. Cool. All right. What's going on here? We can put right down here on the threshold. Perfect. All right, so we did the base material pass. Now, let's just tune the grass and the glass. Okay, first let's start with the glass. Let's click this. And the reason I save the glass for last is like, the glass really complements the rest of the project. Usually I'll tweak it once I get all the landscaping in, and we'll put some like presets in for now. And then once like all the vegetation's in there, that's when you realize like if the glass is incorrect or correct, like if it's too shiny or not. That's when it really stands out. Right now, the only thing we have to compare it against is like, can we see through the building and can we see the sky? So not much to go off by, but generally speaking, I'll go over to my library and I'll click I'll click glass, then I'll go glass panels. Let's go with something like this. Okay. And really all this is like a different tint, right? So we don't want, we'll go with this. So the color looks completely off, right? This is like a vibrant blue, right? So we can actually remove some of that by going to white. But really what I want to play with is the reflectivity that we have here and opacity. So let's start from the top. Basically, we have our relief. So think of this as your normal map. I actually like having a little bit. Well, you'll notice when you look at buildings, especially in the sunlight, glass, because of the the high heat during the process to create glass, it's not a perfectly flat sheet, right? There's actually some distortion in it. So they have a default, normal map that's going to distort things. So watch this. Like, that's way too extreme. Just a little bit to break it up. We'll add some realism. And you can also choose the scale of things, right? So the reflectivity here, this is going to show more or less of the interior. I'm going to increase this a little bit, and we're going to have to revisit this once we have vegetation in, because that's when it's really going to stick out. But if I zoom out from far away, you'll see that's that normal map working. So I'm going to lower that a little bit more. Just a little bit. Yeah. You see how it's breaking up the flat horizon line and distorting it? That's all we want. Okay. Internal reflections. This, if there's something in here, like actual like geometry and like materials, it'll actually be picked up here. Right now it's just picking up like kind of nothing. It's just like the interior paint here. So I'll add a little bit of that. And then transparency. That is how opaque it is, right? So now I can't see anything because it's fully opaque. This is more transparent. So I can actually lower this so I can see less of my interior, right? Okay, so now let's do a test. Relief is still a little bit too high, so I'm gonna lower that. Still a little too reflective, but I'll leave that somewhere around there, okay? And again, we're gonna have to go back once we actually have everything in there. Double-sided, this means, do you want to imitate thickness, right? So when we typically model glass in 3D model suites, it's always like a single plane and it never has the thickness of real glass. When you cut through a sheet of glass, it's thick, right? So this will make it double-sided, and I'll actually add thickness to the material, which is pretty cool. Distortion, this is like refraction. You'll see right here, see what's going on here? We want a little bit about that. And then roughness, how shiny do you want your glass to be, right? If we have it at 100, it's going to be matte. It's not going to be shiny. If we leave it all the way down there, it's going to be like a mirror finish. I'm going to make it, just a couple % off because it's not like a perfect mirror. And again, we're going to revisit this once we have all the vegetation in there. I'll probably wind up lowering this a little bit and lowering the reflectivity. But for now, this is like a good starting point, right? So frostiness, so check this out. This is if you have frosted glass or not. We don't have frosted glass. This is like great for like privacy screens, and that type of glazing will have frost, but we can lower this. Force rain streaks, this will literally show rain streaks. So if you're doing like an animation and you wanted to make it look wet, you can actually do that through here. Okay. And here we can actually drive how thick the glass is. So like this combined with double-sided will make it look even more thicker. By default, 4 is totally fine. And absorption, you can actually change the color. Watch this. Okay, and those are the main settings that we need. We can definitely tune this further, but this is in a good spot. I think maybe the only thing is maybe we tweak our reflectivity just to be a little higher. Yeah, 113 is good for now. Perfect. All right, cool. So we've gotten all that done. Okay, we're just doing a test here. And all we need is grass, 3D grass. So I'm going to click this. Okay, and I'm going to go over to library. And I'm looking for 3D grass right here. So if I click any of these, I'm going to click clean cut grass. And it's going to take a little bit because it's literally like populating it with meshes. And when I zoom in, you'll see that I actually have literal clean cut grass, right? If I change it to wild grass, see what happens. See how crazy it looks and how shaggy it is. But again, the beauty of Lumion is I can go from wild grass to clean cut grass. So watch this. If I double click this, I can change the bending force so it's more straight instead of super floppy. I can change the size and the length of everything, right? So I like it when the grass kind of pops a little bit up. That way you don't see the edge of this. So I'm going to leave that somewhere around here. Okay. And I'm going to change curliness so it's more straight. And you know what? Now that everything's straightened out, we can actually lower the size here and the length. Perfect. Okay. So the normal map is what's driving that waviness. So I can actually get rid of this if I want. Or I could just go and cut the grass like this. So after a certain threshold, it's actually going to cut it. So you've got a couple options here, right? You can customize it via wild, or you can literally just go and go with clean cut grass. You could go with like, you know, these pattern ones, but I feel like nobody ever cuts their lawn like that unless they've got millions and millions of dollars. So I'm going to go with just our typical clean cut grass. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So we've got that. Let's customize this a little bit more. Leave this somewhere around here. Let's increase the size, increase the length. Okay, we'll add a little bit of bending force, a little bit of gravity force. That way everything's not like perfectly straight. And we'll add a little bit of curliness. We're just trying to add some natural variation here. Perfect. And that's what I was talking about. Like you see that little edge right there, how the grass is coming up. That's what we're looking for. So I can go a little bit higher. Perfect. Perfect, beautiful grass. Awesome. So it looks like we've done all of our materials for the house, at least. Okay, this is great. Let's just swap this out. So the reason I have the garage glass as a different glass is sometimes this glass, just for like the sake of privacy and everything, is a different kind of opacity. So watch this. I'm going to paste this. Looks like I picked up the paint. Let me copy that. So I can go here and actually make this the frosted that I was talking about earlier. So I can increase this to be frosted. I can increase transparency just to show you the frostedness. You see that light here? See how it's being blurred? So that way if someone's like standing here, they can't see out, and vice versa. So I've got that. I can also just force a color to be darker. Okay, perfect. And let's see, with reflectivity, let's do something like that. So you may notice that there's a couple weird panels here, and the reason that's happening is because double-sided was checked on. If you turn that off, it's going to fix it. So up to you if you want to do a frosted glass by boosting this, or if you want to do a solid color. And let's go with the painted look. And just to break it up, I'm just going to change it to like a lighter gray. Yeah, exactly. Just so that there's some variation here. Awesome. Yeah, so we've done all the materials for the house. So now that that's done, I want to talk about the landscape material. So landscape material is all of this. Cool. So all that's left is the landscaping all around here. We'll add some context, you know, some neighbors, some trees out here, and we'll also landscape the front of the property, right? That's actually what these little poles are for, right? We actually worked with a landscape designer that was very specific about the placement of specific trees and species and everything. So we modeled that in SketchUp. So in Lumion, we can easily place it. Okay, so in the next video, we'll talk about how to do all this.